So now I've got this crazy loop that there's no chance I ever would have sat down and programmed or written, you know. First of all, the way I've chopped it up, it starts on a snare and it's just a 3-bar loop. Now I need 4-bar loops, and generally speaking, we're going to have a kick on one, but here we are. Again, the whole point of this approach is to stumble into some things that I probably wouldn't have had access to normally. Also, as you can see, nothing is perfect. This snare is ultra, ultra early, but it's cool. It's going to work. Kind of one of my favorite sounds, especially here. You get this sort of frantic roll up to an early snare, but then right away recovering afterwards and just burying the next snare on a downbeat. This is a great feeling. And then a really kind of typical hi-hat fill, something that's really setting up the next downbeat, and we're only truly out for like this moment, which is enough that we can get away with it. So now there's a couple things I can do with this. I can extract samples, you know, like this is a great snare sample. I could take that snare by itself and very easily get a cool sample out of it. Just this. That's a pretty awesome snare. That would be useful. You know, if I just get my kick bus here. You know, we've got quite a bit of hi-hat. This was a busy hi-hat part, so there may be too much hi-hat bleed to get a real great one-shot. Though a lot of classic samples have hi-hat in the kick. That's really a more common thing than you realize until you sit down with these samples. But at the very least, I've got great transients here, so I could easily extract this audio into MIDI information and maintain this weird feeling that was happening in here. So there's a few different approaches. There's things that I can use to get this. I'm going to have to make this probably a pretty rare drum beat because of the weirdness here. That's something that we kept in mind throughout the project, was the parts that are going to work the best with as many loops as possible are a little more common. Now, they all work. There's nothing here that's going to musically clash. Everything is going to be cohesive as far as the key and the tempo and the length of each loop. So it's really just taste. When I say work, what I mean is works in an approachable way. I love the sound of these weird hi-hat patterns where it's kind of all over the place. But I know it's maybe not everyone's favorite sound, so I'm going to make this probably pretty rare, whatever this ends up being, because it's going to be inspired by what I just played now in the moment. I could take this hi-hat roll as a sample. That's cool. So I'm just going to, using tab to transient, so I'm just making sure that I cut these off where I want them. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Let's bring that over here. Just crossfade. Just short. 5 in, 5 out. But always want to have those to make these loops really smooth. Cool, got no clicks, great. Bounce that out. I'm gonna grab that snare that I was talking about earlier. I think this will make for a cool snare sample, and that already sounds pretty good, but just for good practice, I'm gonna bring it over here. Give it my same fades that I did before. Cool, all right. So I got at least 2 samples. I don't know if I have a clean enough kick in here to use, but I am going to use the transient information. So let me bounce out these 2 loops. We're going to use them as samples. And then for the rest of the pattern, I'll just take the MIDI information, and then we'll bring in some other samples. Come on, are you telling me I was going to sit down at the keyboard and write this? that I was going to plug all this in one note at a time and come up with exactly this. It's not going to happen.